Welcome to Measurably Better Learning, the podcast built for learning and development professionals. Whether you're an instructional designer, L&D professional, or corporate leader, get ready for insights and ideas that will transform your approach to learning, training, and development. So let's dive in.
Welcome to the Measurably Better podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Taylor, and I'm here today with my colleague, Dr. Jerry Zandstra. You know, we have tackled a lot of topics.
Oh, yeah?
A lot of complex ones, I think, lately. And we've talked a lot about innovative learning and AI, and you and I were just having this conversation the other day, and we kind of hit upon the topic of simplicity, and it resonated for both of us for a lot of reasons, I think. But
well, you say we hit upon it. I think you suggested it, and I said, well, that's fantastic.
Well, yeah, I mean, okay. Either way, it just seemed to strike a chord for the way the world is right now, all of that. And why do you think simplicity is resonating with people right now, though? What's going on in the learning and development world?
Yeah, I mean, life gets more and more complex, right? We get more and more information thrown at us. We get more and more details coming at us all the time. We're processing an incredible amount of information, and so that there's I think everybody lives with cognitive overload. Some of us that are a little older long for the days when things maybe were a little simpler and you could think more deeply about fewer things. Now we think, we're truly a mile wide and an inch deep. And part of that is just cognitively, there are so many things coming at us, and the speed. It's great if you're a current events person.
Sure. Yeah.
But the ability to slow down and think and reflect. Remember in graduate school, there was an exercise we had to do on learning how to reflect. And it was at first I thought,
Right.
why and what's my grade? Right. And then
Take a nap.
No.
Use the nap.
I reflect best when I'm sleeping. Right. But the ability to stop and think and process. Cognitive overload is a very real thing. It's a very real thing for our learners. Mm-hmm. In whatever corporation or nonprofit that you're in, just the amount of data that's coming at you every day, and the requirements and stuff at home, and you got to fix your car, and all of these things that have to be done. Our to-do lists are really long and complex. And, that sort of ties into the second component of it. It's not just that there's too much information, the demands on our time.
Yeah. Sure. They relate together, really.
Yeah. There's more constraints, or we could put it more positively and say more demands on our time. I mean, you still have kids in college and high school. Right. Think of what your high school life was like compared to what their high school life was like. I know when I was in high school, I prided myself. I never did homework in all of high school.
You might not want to admit that on the spot.
My parents didn't care.
Me too. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I kind of like pretty much a full-time job. At high school.
Yeah. Right.
And even then, I had less and less as time went on. But just the amount of constraints on people's times, the demands in meetings. The inability to just sit down next to somebody because you're all remote, so you have to set a meeting. Yeah. Your whole life gets scheduled out that way. And there was something about the concept of simplicity. I think, again, I'm going to credit you, because when you said it, I was like, yeah. And then there's some other things too. We can talk about some of those. So.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about information overload. That's a pretty prevalent topic, but you add the time constraints to it. And I mean, it's in our culture, there's always this work-life balance. And is that possible? Just all those. I mean, it's like it's a never-ending conversation.
Yeah.
And maybe because it's almost springtime in Michigan, we hope. But regardless, I think people do kind of long for that, a chance to reset a little bit, to breathe. And that's something that we can bring into, the learning and development world that we live in, because of all these things going on in people's lives. Because we also create, instructional designers, we I'll be honest, we can overcomplicate things. We can over-engineer things because we're pretty excited about what we're doing and everything is and then we work with SMEs who every detail is important. And so sometimes we design programs.
Or maybe not.
Right. And that's our job to figure out. But exactly. So we tend to design these like super complex programs. And so you mentioned there's a couple other things I think that really are driving this need for simplicity.
Yeah. One is just getting the learner's attention, as we talked about, but another is there's a direct correlation between complication and accessibility.
Yeah.
The more complex something is, the more accessibility issues you're going to have. And it might be internet accessibility, it might be language accessibility, that you're delivering something at a college level and people aren't able to, or it's the technology of, I don't know how this works.
Right. How do I even navigate through this?
Yes. Yeah. Where's the next button? Is right. I don't know how they do that. And it's like, well, for me, it's like playing a computer game with my granddaughter. I mean, she's so intuitive. She's 12.
Yeah.
It's not intuitive to me.
The Oregon Trail, that's for sure.
Well, no. And so, that all those assumptions that are built in, assuming that a person can simply, comfortably know what to do next, where to go next. I agree. You've been in it too, where you're in. I'm in a loop here. I don't know what to do next. Yeah. I'm sure it's cool.
Right. I just can't figure it out.
I just can't experience what you created, and that's a pretty big challenge. So.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I think if we stopped here, we'd all just go home sad. So when we return, let's talk about some solutions. Like, how can we help our L&D program and then therefore like our organizations sort of simplify things for our learners?
Great.
Imagine a world where every training session, every learning module, and every translated document is aligned with your company's unique goals and global ambitions. Welcome to Ingenuity, where we don't just talk about elevating your corporate learning, we make it happen. At Ingenuity, we understand the heart of your business is its people. That's why we specialize in creating custom learning solutions and translation services that are not just effective, but are designed specifically for your business's global needs. Let us show you how learning cannot be just better, but measurably better, with solutions tailored just for you. Learn more in the description below.
Well, welcome back. As we promise, we don't want to leave everyone sad and overwhelmed with life. So, Jerry, I know you have some really good ideas, but some of them I think are obvious, some of them maybe not so obvious. But what are a couple ways we can help our learning leaders really champion simplicity in, with their teams, but also in the organization?
Yeah, I look at all the stuff you're intending to do, how much of it speaks to the core agendas, right? There's some stuff that it's like garnishment, right? It's really nice, but what is essential, and what is going to effectively communicate what you want to communicate, or give people the ability to try, and isn't fluffy stuff,
right?
And the fluffy stuff is nice, it's fun, but if you take a person who's in a hurry, they want the information they want it right now, and they want it.
Yeah,
it boiled down, right? You and I have talked about this before. It's like, you mentioned it's springtime in Michigan. This is when you plant radishes and, onions and a few other things. So I'm in my garden, I'm planting things. Like, and I'm watching YouTube videos. I don't want to know the history of the onion. Right. I don't know why say it feels. I'm sure it's all clickbait, right? But But why do I need to know the importance of the onion in mid 4th century Egypt? I don't need to know. I just want to
repaired onion.
Is it half an inch or an inch deep? Right. That's what I need to know. And it's frustrating.
Yeah.
And then I really don't want to do it anymore.
Right.
So I think, what is the core objective? Taking things in chunks, and you and I have talked about scaffolding a lot in previous podcasts and webinars and articles, where you're just building cumulatively. It's not everything all at once. And so, and we've talked to you about just-in-time learning and right-size learning and those things. Giving people what they need, when they need it, in a digestible piece, understanding, and there's another factor to this that we didn't talk about in the first segment, which is what people are used to.
Yeah, that's a great point.
If you're used to like immediate information,
Right. On demand.
and then you get to something where you're going somewhere here, right? There's some payoff at the end, and I'm not really sure. And by the time you get to it, I lost my attention. Some of those are really, really good. Clarity, concise language, field testing it a little bit, especially if there are other languages involved. The little group whose opinions really matter to you and who can give you honest feedback and will tell you, I don't understand what you're saying here. So I think, those are a couple of things. There are more.
No, I think that resonates. And one thing we worked on a lot with our teams is like that clear and concise language.
Yep.
And I think that's something that, that's always a cue to me that AI has written something. There's just like this hyperbole, these over the counter adjective. Like, don't put those in there. I don't need to know in this ever evolving world.
In a world where, that's where the voiceover should be.
Yes, exactly. So all of those things, I think, streamline things for our learners. And those, we talked a lot about the content, but there's other ways too to really sort of streamline and simplify the user experience.
Yes.
Visuals.
Oh, visuals. Yeah. Great idea. A picture's worth probably a million words now. And if you can give somebody a simple infographic or a simple image with some cool colors where everything's really clear, and again, I can look and comprehend. I have what I need, and I can move on. Those are some wonderful things, and it sort of ties into navigation. It's something we brought up before, but and again, if you're dealing with multinational company, not everybody's going to approach the navigation in the same way. They might expect the next button to be bottom right. That might be top left. And all of those things lead to complexity, which is our enemy, in this conversation. There are times things need to be complex, but it's a little bit of the Japanese lean manufacturing. Build what you need to build as lean as you possibly can. And there's some wonderful things there. And I would say, blended micro, we've got a podcast coming up on blended. But truly looking at all the tools available in your toolbox and using the one that works rather than using the one that's new.
Yeah.
Because I think the temptation is, this is new, this is cool, let's just do it. And you and I have seen this, right? The industry kind of runs after whatever's new and so, and we're not really coming back to true good learning science, or we're not coming back to thinking about the learners and how they're going to, we like to do this because we like to do this, right? Might not be meeting the objectives that we had.
Yeah. Yeah. One of probably the best things any instructional designer can do is to be a learner. Yeah. Several times a year, whether you have to learn some software for your job or something, like puts you right back into the spot of and then somebody's sending you tutorials and videos. And you're like, these don't make sense to me. They're not updated. I have to make my own instructions on whatever. It's a great spot to be in though, because you remember what it feels like to be a learner sitting there, and it helps you think about what they need most. So
it's a great spot to end on. Put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah.
And allow yourself to be frustrated, and that brings a lot of clarity.
Absolutely. I hope that this conversation has given our listeners permission even to start to simplify again where needed, and really, so I really appreciate all of your suggestions too, because I think that will encourage them to start to incorporate simple learning into the repertoire of what they're doing. So thank you.
You bet.
Before we wrap up the show, if you're looking to dive deeper, we've got tons of free downloads, L&D resources, and details about upcoming webinars that you won't want to miss. They're found in the episode description. Plus, if you ever want to chat with either one of us, now's your chance. You can find links in the episode description to connect directly with Miriam or me. We're here to answer your questions and to discuss all things learning and development. And speaking of questions, we love hearing from you. Whether it's a question or a comment or a topic you're curious about, or if you just want to join the conversation, drop us a comment on your favorite social media channel. Your input shapes our shows. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. It's the best way to ensure you never miss out on our latest episode. We're excited to continue to transform learning into a measurable success with you. Until next time.